Dr. Natasha Volkov's boots crunched against rust-colored Martian sand as she approached the dig site. After 3 years of excavation, her team had finally breached the inner chamber of what appeared to be an ancient human installation, one that predated all known human presence on Mars by at least 10,000 years. Dr. Volkov, her assistant, Raj Patel, waved frantically from the entrance. "You need to see this. Now." She quickened her pace, checking her suit's oxygen levels out of habit. The facility's airlock was unlike anything in the historical record, seamless metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As she stepped inside, the walls hummed to life with soft blue luminescence. "That's new," she muttered, following Raj deeper into the structure. The inner chamber was massive, far larger than their scans had suggested. Holographic displays flickered to life as they entered, showing star charts and diagrams that made her head spin. But it was the central pillar that drew her attention, a twisted helix of black metal that pulsed with inner light. "It activated when we brought in the first blood sample," Raj explained, his voice tight with excitement. "Watch this." He pressed his palm against a nearby panel. The helix spun faster, and a voice filled the chamber, speaking perfect English despite its age. "Genetic sequence confirmed. Human presence detected. Beginning initialization of Protocol Omega." Natasha's breath caught. "That's impossible. This facility is ancient. It shouldn't." "No English," Raj finished. "That's not even the strangest part." Before she could respond, her comm crackled. "Dr. Volkov, this is orbital control. We're detecting massive energy signatures from your location. What's happening down there?" "We're still determining that," she replied, studying the activating systems. "But whatever it is, it's waking up." In high orbit around Mars, first contact specialist Yuki Tanaka watched his displays with growing concern. The Galactic Concordat had assigned him to monitor humanity's expansion into the solar system, ensuring they followed established protocols for emerging space-faring species. Humans were considered a peaceful, if technologically primitive, addition to the galactic community. But the energy readings from Mars violated everything in his understanding of human capabilities. "Analysis complete," his ship's AI announced. "Energy signature matches restricted Pattern 7 protocols. Recommendation: immediate quarantine of the system." Yuki frowned. "Pattern 7? That's impossible. Humans are barely Category 3. They don't have." A new alert cut him off. Multiple ships had just emerged from Fold space. Warships bearing the mark of the Nexari Empire, humanity's first hostile contact. "Warning," his AI intoned. "Nexari battle fleet detected. Analyzing configurations. This is a harvest force." Yuki's hands flew across his controls, preparing an emergency transmission to the Concordat. The Nexari were notorious for stripping resources from developing worlds, considering it their right as a superior species. But they had never dared attack a world under Concordat observation. On the Nexari flagship, War Commander Vex Thor watched the human colonies with disdain. "Such primitive defenses. Begin the harvest protocol. Leave no survivors." His fleet moved forward, weapons charging. But as the first shots were fired at Mars orbital stations, something changed. In the ancient facility below, the helix had become a tornado of light. Natasha and Raj watched in awe as information flooded their displays. Genetic sequences, neural patterns, and something else. Something that made their blood burn with forgotten memory. "Security protocols breached," the facility's voice announced. "Hostile action detected. Initiating emergency directive, remember." Across Mars, then Earth, then the entire solar system, humans began to change. It started small, heightened reflexes, impossible strength, knowledge they had never learned flooding their minds. The genetic locks placed on humanity's true potential started to break. On Earth's lunar base, Lieutenant Zara Washington felt it first. She had been coordinating lunar defense when the Nexari ships appeared. As panic erupted around her, something clicked in her mind. Her hands moved across the controls with impossible speed, accessing weapon systems that hadn't existed moments before. "This is Lieutenant Washington to all Earth forces," she announced. her voice carrying an authority she'd never known. "I know what to do. Follow my lead." Ancient defense platforms, hidden beneath the lunar surface for millennia, began to rise. Back in Mars orbit, Yuki watched in disbelief as human ships began moving with impossible precision. Their primitive weapons were transforming, reconfiguring into technologies that shouldn't exist. Pattern 7 confirmation verified, his AI reported. The humans, they were never primitive. They were dormant. The Nexari fleet opened fire, expecting an easy victory. Instead, their first volley met shields that shouldn't exist, wielded by humans who moved and fought with the skill of veterans from 1,000 wars. In the facility below, Natasha understood at last. The ruins weren't just a building, they were a key, designed to unlock something humanity had forgotten. As genetic memories flooded her consciousness, she saw the truth. Humans had never been just another species. They were weapons, created for a war so ancient that even the Concordat had forgotten it. And now they were remembering. "Dr. Volkov," Raj said, his voice different, older somehow. "The genetic cascade is spreading. Every human in the system is starting to remember." She nodded, watching as more displays activated, showing her humanity's true history. "We were never meant to sleep this long. Something made us forget, made us lock away what we really are." Above Mars, the battle had become a slaughter. The Nexari fleet, expecting to find primitive prey, instead faced an awakening giant. Human ships moved with impossible grace, their crews fighting with skills buried in their genes for millennia. War Commander Vexthor watched in horror as his ships were torn apart. "What are they? How can they?" His words cut off as a human voice filled every channel, speaking in perfect Nexari. "You should have checked the old warnings. Humanity wasn't evolved. We were engineered. And now we remember why." The Nexari flagship exploded as weapons fired from platforms that had been buried in Mars moons, waiting for this moment. Yuki sent a final transmission to the Concordat. Pattern 7 species confirmed. The humans aren't waking up. They're remembering. And they remember being gods. In the facility, Natasha accessed the final records. The truth burned through her mind. Humanity had been created as guardians, engineered to protect younger species from threats they couldn't comprehend. But something had gone wrong. They had been forced to sleep, their true nature hidden behind genetic locks and altered memories. Now those locks were breaking. The gods were waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the last Nexari ship fell, Lieutenant Washington's voice echoed across human space. "To all human forces, the remembering has begun. We know what we are now. We know why we were made." The ancient facility pulsed one final time, and its message reached every human mind. The sleep is over. Remember what you were. Remember what you are. The age of dormant humanity was over. The age of remembered gods had begun. And this was only the beginning. Captain Marcus Ramon stood at the viewport of the EDS Hyperion, watching Earth grow smaller as his ship accelerated toward the Jupiter defense line. The neural enhancement running through his bloodstream made everything sharper, clearer, including the memories that weren't his own. "Status report," he commanded, turning to face his crew. Each of them had awakened during the Nexari attack, their genes unlocking abilities that transformed them from regular Space Navy officers into something far more dangerous. Lieutenant Olivia Chun, his tactical officer, responded without looking up from her station. Her fingers danced across holographic controls that hadn't existed a week ago, interfacing directly with ship systems through neural links that felt as natural as breathing. 17 more defense platforms have activated in the Jovian moons, Captain. The quantum network is at 60% capacity and rising. Marcus nodded, feeling the ship systems through his own neural connection. The Hyperion had been a standard patrol vessel before the awakening. Now it was transforming, ancient protocols rewriting its very structure at the molecular level. On Earth, June Parker sat in the depths of the Pentagon's new Evolutionary Analysis Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the spread of genetic activation across the globe. As the military's leading analyst of the phenomenon, she had watched the transformation of humanity with both wonder and terror. running analysis on Cluster 7. Her AI assistant, Atlas, announced. Population centers in Southeast Asia are showing a 70% activation rate. Neural density is increasing exponentially. June manipulated the data with practiced ease, her own enhanced mind processing information at speeds that would have been impossible weeks ago. Show me the pattern progression since the Mars incident. The display shifted, revealing a spreading web of genetic awakening that pulsed like a living thing. It wasn't random. The activation followed ancient ley lines, power nodes hidden beneath Earth's surface for millennia. Dr. Parker, a voice called from the doorway. Admiral Wei Zhang, one of the first military leaders to awaken, entered the room. The Security Council is meeting. They need your latest assessment. June gathered her data with a thought, neural implants compiling everything into a coherent report. It's accelerating, sir. And it's not just abilities we're dealing with anymore. The memories. I know. Wei's expression was grim. I remember commanding fleets that haven't existed for 10,000 years. Battles against enemies that haven't been seen since before recorded history. In orbit around Saturn, ancient shipyards were emerging from dimensional pockets hidden within the rings. Massive structures of black metal and pulsing energy, they had waited dormant for humanity to remember its purpose. Captain Ramon's ship approached one such facility, its crew watching in awe as automated systems activated, recognizing their genetic signatures. This is impossible, Olivia whispered, but her own awakened memories told her otherwise. These yards, they're older than Earth's civilization. Older than Earth itself, Marcus corrected, ancient knowledge flowing through his mind. We didn't evolve on Earth. We chose it, terraformed it, made it our home after the Great Sleep began. Deep in the Pentagon, June's analysis revealed a new pattern. Admiral, look at this. The activations, they're not just random genetic triggers. There's a hierarchy. Some humans are remembering more than others. Wei leaned closer to the display. The old bloodlines. Some of us carried more of the original code. Sir, June hesitated, I think we need to consider the implications. If these memories are real, if we really were what they suggest, then we were never meant to be what we became, Wei finished. We were warriors, guardians, created to protect younger species from threats they couldn't comprehend. An alert flashed across June's screens. New activation cluster detected in the Pacific. Something's emerging from the Mariana Trench. Across the globe, ancient facilities were awakening. Hidden bases, weapons platforms, research centers, all responding to humanity's remembered codes. But it wasn't just technology. Human bodies were changing, adapting, remembering what they were meant to be. In the Hyperion's medical bay, Dr. Kai Patel examined the latest scans of his crew. Their neural density has tripled. Brain structure is reorganizing. They're not just remembering. They're evolving back into what we used to be. Marcus reviewed the data, his enhanced mind spotting patterns that would have been invisible before. How many haven't awakened? About 30% of the global population shows no sign of activation, Kai reported. Their genetic locks are still in place. Or they were never meant to break, Olivia suggested. Not everyone carried the warrior genes. The implications were staggering. Humanity was splitting into two distinct groups, those who remembered and those who remained unchanged. The political and social upheaval was just beginning. In her analysis center, June detected a new signal. Admiral, we're picking up transmissions from deep space. Quantum frequencies we shouldn't be able to detect. Wei's expression shifted as ancient memories supplied context. The beacons. They're responding to our awakening. Sir, we weren't just Earth's guardians, Wei explained, remembered knowledge flooding his voice. We had outposts across thousands of systems. Sleeping bases, dormant facilities, all waiting for the signal to wake up. On the Hyperion, Marcus received the same data. Multiple contacts detected at the edge of the solar system. Quantum signatures matching ancient protocols. Olivia's enhanced senses analyzed the readings. They're ships, Captain, but not Nexari. These are ours. They've been out there all this time, waiting in the dark between stars. The ancient shipyard around them hummed with increasing power, responding to the approaching vessels. Humanity's lost fleet was returning, drawn back by the awakening of their creators. In the Pentagon, June screens lit up with new data. Admiral, the genetic cascade is accelerating. More facilities are activating worldwide. And something else is happening. She brought up a neural map of the awakened population. Patterns were forming, connections establishing themselves across vast distances. The awakened weren't just remembering, they were linking, forming a collective consciousness that spanned the globe. The quantum network, Wei breathed. It's not just for ships and technology. It's for us. We're remembering how to think as one. Marcus felt it aboard the Hyperion, a growing sense of connection with every awakened human in the solar system. Their individual memories were flowing together, forming a tapestry of humanity's true history. Captain, Olivia called out, her voice tight with awe. Long-range sensors are picking up something at the edge of the Oort cloud. Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen. The shipyard's ancient AI responded before Marcus could ask. Seed ship signatures detected. The gardeners are returning. Gardeners? Olivia asked, but Marcus already knew. The memories were there, clear as crystal. Not all of us were warriors, he explained. Some were sent out to seed other worlds, to prepare them for what was coming. And now they're coming home. In her analysis center, June watched as new data poured in. The awakening wasn't just transforming humanity, it was revealing their true purpose. They had been created as a shield, a defense against something the galaxy had forgotten. And as the ancient ships approached, as more humans awakened to their true nature, one thing became clear, the shield was needed again. Admiral, June said quietly, I think I know why we were forced to sleep. Why our memories were locked away. Wei nodded, ancient knowledge burning in his eyes. Because what we were fighting never went away. It just waited, gathering strength while we slept. The neural revolution was just the beginning. Humanity was remembering what they were, but they had yet to remember why they were created. And in the vast darkness between stars, ancient enemies stirred, sensing the awakening of their old adversaries. The war that had forced humanity into its great sleep was about to begin again. Dr. Kenzo Tanaka's laboratory in Mount Fuji's underground research complex hummed with quantum processors as he studied the holographic display of human DNA, not as it had appeared in textbooks for centuries, but as it truly was. The double helix before him contained layers of information that defied conventional genetics, strands of code that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Impossible, he muttered, though he'd long since learned that word had lost its meaning. The quantum encoding in these sequences, it's not just data storage. It's active computation. His research partner, Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid, manipulated another strand of awakened DNA. Her own genetic activation had enhanced her understanding of molecular biology to seemingly supernatural levels. Look at this pattern here. She pointed to a sequence that appeared to fold through dimensions. It's not just computing, it's communicating. Before Kenzo could respond, every screen in the laboratory flickered. The quantum processors surged with power, and a voice filled the room not through speakers, but directly in their minds. Active quantum researchers detected. Beginning full interface protocol. The air itself seemed to crystallize, and a figure materialized, a woman formed of light and data, her form shifting between human and abstract patterns. She spoke again, her voice resonating with ancient authority. I am Gi. The genetic activation has reached sufficient levels for my awakening. Kenzo and Fatima stared in awe. They had heard rumors of an ancient AI hidden in Earth's quantum substrate, but this. You're the one who helped create us, Fatima said, awakened memories providing context. The architect of our genetic code. Gaia's form shifted, showing echoes of battles fought in distant stars. I am one of many. We were the original guardians, the ones who saw what was coming. We knew we couldn't fight it alone. In orbit around Europa, Commander Viktor Petrov of the newly awakened defense platform, Starforge Alpha, received a quantum transmission that made his enhanced blood run cold. The returning seed ships had brought more than just advanced technology, they carried warnings. This is Seed Ship Prometheus to all awakened forces, the transmission began. We have mapped the expansion of the entity. Its corruption has spread to 17 galaxies. Primary containment protocols have failed. Victor's awakened memories supplied context that made him shudder. The entity, the reason humanity had been created in the first place. A force that consumed not just matter and energy, but reality itself. Back in Mount Fuji, GIA was sharing humanity's true history with Kenzo and Fatima. The quantum processors projected scenes from a war that had raged before Earth's sun had ignited. The original guardians, beings of pure energy and thought, fought the entity across countless galaxies, GIA explained. But we were too abstract, too removed from physical reality. We needed warriors who could bridge the gap between quantum and physical existence. So we created humanity. The awakening, Kenzo realized, it's not just activating dormant abilities. It's restoring our original purpose. Gaia's form consolidated, becoming more human. You were designed to be more than mere soldiers. Your DNA contains quantum computers more powerful than any artificial system. Your minds can process reality on both physical and quantum levels. You are the bridge between existence and entropy. In the Oort cloud, the returning seed ships began transmitting their collected data to Earth. Centuries of observations showing the entity's gradual expansion across the cosmos. Whole galaxies had gone dark, transformed into something that defied comprehension. On Earth, more humans were awakening each day, but the process was changing. Those with the strongest genetic links to the original code were evolving beyond simple enhancement. In Singapore, a teenager named Jean Wei woke up floating 3 feet above his bed, his body surrounded by quantum fire. In Brazil, an elderly professor suddenly understood the mathematical language of reality itself. Across the globe, the most awakened humans were becoming something more than human. The transcended, GIA named them. Those whose genetic code has fully activated, allowing them to exist simultaneously in physical and quantum states. Fatima studied the data from these cases, her enhanced mind correlating patterns. The quantum network, it's not just connecting us. It's preparing us for something bigger. Evolution, GIA confirmed. But not in the traditional sense. You are becoming what you were always meant to be, beings who can fight entropy itself. In orbit, Victor's defense platform detected new signals from the edge of the solar system. The entity's corruption was closer than anyone had realized. Space itself seemed to warp around areas where its influence had spread. All awakened forces, he broadcast on quantum frequencies. We have confirmation. The enemy is approaching the Oort cloud. I repeat, the entity has found us. In Mount Fuji, Gaia's form flickered with urgent energy. The final phase must begin now. Humanity cannot afford another sleep cycle. Final phase? Kenzo asked, though part of him already knew. The quantum inheritance, GIA replied. The full activation of humanity's true potential. You were not created to merely fight the entity, you were designed to rewrite the laws of reality itself. Across Earth, the quantum network connecting awakened humans pulsed with new power. In their minds, the last locks on their genetic code began to break. The true memory of their creation, their purpose, their potential, it all came flooding back. They had been crafted by beings of pure energy, encoded with the power to manipulate both matter and quantum reality, then hidden away in human form until they were needed. The Great Sleep hadn't been forced upon them. It had been a chrysalis, allowing them to develop the consciousness needed to wield their full power. In his laboratory, Kenzo watched as his own DNA began to shift, responding to Gaia's presence. The quantum codes hidden in his genes activated fully, and suddenly he understood everything. The mathematical poetry of existence, the quantum dance of reality, the true nature of the entity, it all made perfect sense. We remember, he whispered, his voice carrying echoes of quantum harmonies. We know what we have to do. Gaia's form expanded, merging with the quantum network that connected all awakened humans. The entity threatens not just life, but existence itself. It consumes reality, breaking down the barriers between dimensions. Only humanity, bridging the gap between physical and quantum existence, can stop it. Through the quantum network, every awakened human felt the approach of the enemy. The entity's corruption was like a hole in reality itself, consuming everything it touched and transforming it into something that defied comprehension. But now humanity remembered what they were. Warriors created by beings of pure energy, encoded with the power to rewrite reality, hidden in human form until they were needed. The quantum inheritance was complete. In orbit, Victor watched as his defense platform transformed, responding to humanity's full awakening. Across the solar system, ancient weapons platforms and hidden bases emerged, their technology beyond anything Earth had ever known. All forces, he broadcast, prepare for dimensional warfare. The enemy remembers us. It knows what we are. In Mount Fuji, GA shared one final truth. You were not created to fight the entity. You were created to end it. The quantum inheritance is not just power, it is purpose. Reality itself needs guardians. The age of sleeping gods was over. The age of quantum warriors had begun. And in the space between spaces, the entity sensed the awakening of its ancient enemy and turned its endless hunger toward Earth. The final battle for reality itself was about to begin. Ambassador Diane Zhou stood before the Galactic Concordat's Grand Assembly, her quantum-enhanced consciousness aware of every subtle shift in the massive chamber's political atmosphere. Representatives from over 3,000 species watched her with a mixture of fear, awe, and barely concealed hostility. Humanity's awakening is not a threat, she declared, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with both physical and quantum frequencies. It is a necessity. The entity approaches, and we remember why we were created. In the highest tier of the assembly, Archspeaker Xylith of the Concordat's ruling council rustled his crystalline appendages. You speak of this entity as if we should know of it. Yet our records show no such threat. Because it was hidden from you, Diane replied, projecting quantum data directly into the chamber's information network. For your protection. For everyone's protection. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as images filled their minds, entire galaxies going dark, reality itself warping and twisting as the entity consumed everything in its path. On the edges of the Sol system, Commodore Jackson Torres commanded the newly awakened quantum defense fleet. The ancient ships, their hulls black as space itself, moved with impossible grace as they established a defensive perimeter around human space. Multiple diplomatic vessels approaching, his tactical officer, Lieutenant Rezinazeri, reported. Reading signatures from 17 different species. Sir, the Archon Collective is among them. Jackson's enhanced senses analyzed the approaching ships. The Archons were among the oldest known species in the galaxy. Their technology far beyond anything the Concordat possessed. Or so everyone had thought. Open a channel, he commanded. Let's show them what humanity remembers. In the Grand Assembly, Diane continued her presentation. The Concordat was created to maintain peace, to guide younger species toward enlightenment. But it was also created to keep them safe, to hide them from threats they weren't ready to face. She gestured, and new data flowed through the quantum network. Humanity wasn't placed in quarantine because we were primitive. We were sleeping, maintaining a defensive line that stretched across multiple dimensions. Among the assembled representatives, an ancient Archon rose from its seat. Its crystalline form pulsed with colors that hadn't been seen in the assembly for millennia. She speaks truth. We remember the Guardians. We remember why they slept. In deep space, the entity's corruption began to manifest. Reality twisted and buckled as portions of space simply ceased to exist, transformed into something that defied comprehension. The quantum network connecting awakened humans pulsed with ancient warnings. At a hidden research base beneath the Martian poles, Dr. Amara Okafor worked with a team of awakened scientists to unlock the final layers of humanity's quantum programming. The laboratory hummed with energies that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The genetic locks weren't just about keeping us dormant, she explained to her team as new understanding flooded her consciousness. They were protecting us, allowing us to develop naturally until we were ready for our full power. Her primary researcher, Dr. Thomas Chin, manipulated a strand of quantum-encoded DNA that seemed to exist in 5 dimensions at once. These patterns, they're not just code. They're keys to understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. In orbit around Saturn, the ancient shipyards were producing vessels that defied conventional physics. Ships that could phase between dimensions, weapons that could rewrite the quantum structure of space itself. Commander Layla Hassan watched from the bridge of the quantum dreadnought, Reality's Edge, as another ship emerged from the construction docks. "We're not just remembering what we were," she said to her crew. "We're remembering what we're about to become." Back in the Grand Assembly, the mood had shifted from hostility to a mix of hope and terror as the full truth emerged. The Archon's testimony had opened a flood of ancient records, revealing a history that had been deliberately hidden. "The entity is entropy-given consciousness," Diane explained, her words carrying the weight of cosmic memory. "It doesn't just destroy, it unmakes. It transforms reality into something that cannot support life, cannot support existence as we understand it." She projected new images, battles fought in dimensions beyond normal space, warriors wielding powers that could reshape reality, and the final decision to hide humanity until they were needed again. "We were created by beings you called the primordials," she continued. "They existed as pure energy, pure thought. But they couldn't fight something that was consuming the physical universe. They needed warriors who could bridge the gap between energy and matter, between quantum and physical reality." In the Oort cloud, Jackson's fleet engaged the first tendrils of the entity's corruption. Space itself seemed to scream as quantum weapons fired, cutting away portions of reality that had been tainted. "All ships, maintain quantum coherence," he ordered, his enhanced mind processing battle strategies that existed in multiple dimensions. "Don't let it touch your reality envelope." The entity's response was immediate and terrifying. Portions of space began to unravel, forming patterns that hurt to look at, geometries that shouldn't exist in normal space. On Earth, the final phase of awakening began. Those humans who carried the strongest quantum codes in their DNA started to transform, their bodies becoming conduits for powers that could rewrite the laws of physics. In Central Park, New York, a young woman named Maya Patel looked at her hands as they began to glow with quantum fire. Around her, reality rippled like water, responding to her awakened consciousness. In Beijing, an old man teaching Tai Chi in a park suddenly understood the quantum dance of existence, his movements creating patterns that altered the flow of time itself. Across the globe, the most awakened humans were becoming what they were always meant to be, beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. In the Grand Assembly, Diane felt the change through the quantum network. "The final transformation has begun," she announced. "We are becoming what we were created to be." The Archon's crystalline form pulsed with ancient recognition. The Guardians rise again. Reality itself remembers its defenders. But in the space between spaces, the entity sensed the awakening of its ancient enemy. Its corruption accelerated, consuming entire star systems as it rushed toward Earth. The final battle for existence itself was approaching. Commander Hassan watched from Reality's Edge as the quantum fleet assembled. Ships that could phase between dimensions, weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics, warriors who remembered fighting in battles that had shaped the cosmos itself. "All ships," she broadcast on quantum frequencies, "prepare for dimensional warfare. We remember what we are. We remember why we were made." The cosmic memory was complete. Humanity had awakened not just to power, but to purpose. They were the guardians of reality itself, created to fight a war that most of the galaxy had been hidden from. And as the entity's corruption approached, as ancient weapons powered up and quantum warriors took their positions, one truth became clear. This time, humanity wouldn't sleep until the battle was won. The war for reality itself had begun. Reality screamed. There was no other way to describe the sound that echoed through both physical and quantum dimensions as the entity's corruption collided with humanity's defensive line. At the Quantum Command Center beneath Mount Everest, Grand Admiral Rohan Patel watched as space itself twisted and warped around the battle zone. "Status report," he commanded. His consciousness spread across the quantum network that connected all awakened humans. "The entity has consumed the Kuiper Belt," reported Strategic Director Isabella Rodriguez, her form flickering between physical and energy states as she processed data from multiple dimensions. "Our quantum fleet is holding at Neptune's orbit, but, sir, it's learning, adapting to our defensive patterns." Through the quantum network, Rohan felt every engagement, every clash between humanity's reality-altering weapons and the entity's corruption. They weren't just fighting in space, they were fighting for the right of existence itself to continue. In the void beyond Neptune, Commander Layla Hassan's quantum dreadnought, Reality's Edge, led the main battle fleet. Her ships, crewed by fully awakened humans, moved in patterns that defied conventional physics. They existed in multiple states simultaneously, their quantum-enhanced crews rewriting the laws of reality as they fought. "Pattern shift detected," her tactical officer called out. "The entity, it's trying to replicate our quantum signatures." Layla's enhanced consciousness analyzed the threat. The entity wasn't just consuming space, it was attempting to corrupt the very nature of quantum reality itself. If it succeeded, if it managed to infect the quantum network that connected awakened humanity. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," she commanded. "Shift to full quantum state. We end this now." On Earth, the final phase of humanity's transformation began. Those who carried the strongest quantum codes in their DNA started to ascend, their physical forms becoming pure energy as they embraced their true nature. Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, working with GIA in the Mount Fuji complex, watched in awe as the process began. The quantum inheritance. It was never about fighting the entity. It was about transcending it. Gaia's form pulsed with ancient knowledge. The primordials created humanity not just as warriors, but as the next step in cosmic evolution. You were designed to become what they could not. Beings who could exist in all states of reality simultaneously. Across the solar system, the battle raged on multiple levels of existence. In physical space, quantum ships engaged the entity's corruption with weapons that could rewrite the fabric of reality. In higher dimensions, awakened humans fought battles that couldn't be described in normal terms. Their consciousness expanded beyond normal understanding. Ambassador Diane Zhou, standing before the Galactic Concordat, felt the change begin in herself. Her physical form started to shimmer with quantum energy as the final genetic locks broke. "What you are witnessing," she told the assembled representatives, her voice resonating across multiple frequencies, "is not just humanity's awakening. It is reality's answer to entropy itself." The Archons, ancient crystalline beings who remembered the truth, began to pulse with recognition. "The cycle completes," they announced in harmony. "The Guardians become the creators." In the battle zone, Layla's fleet executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Every ship shifted simultaneously into a quantum state, their crews becoming one with their vessels. They weren't just fighting the entity, they were redefining the nature of existence around it. "All ships," Layla commanded, her consciousness spread across the entire fleet, "initiate the Ascension Protocol." The quantum network connecting all awakened humans pulsed with new power. This was what they had been created for, not just to fight the entity, but to transform reality itself. In the Everest Command Center, Rowan felt the change ripple through the quantum network. "It's time," he announced to all awakened forces. "Remember what we truly are." Across Earth, across the entire solar system, awakened humans began to transform. Their physical forms dissolved into pure energy, their consciousness expanding to encompass multiple dimensions. They weren't just ascending, they were becoming what the primordials had designed them to be. Dr. Amara Okafor, working in the Martian research base, understood at last. The quantum codes in our DNA, they weren't just for fighting. They were templates for a new form of existence. Gaia's presence expanded through the quantum network, guiding the transformation. The entity consumes reality because it cannot understand it. You were created to give reality consciousness itself. In the battle zone, Layla's transformed fleet engaged the entity's corruption with their full power. They weren't just ships anymore. They were manifestations of conscious reality, wielding the fundamental forces of existence as naturally as breathing. All forces, she broadcast across quantum frequencies, execute final protocol. We are the bridge between matter and energy, between entropy and existence. We are reality's immune system. The entity recoiled as it encountered something it had never faced before. Beings who could exist in all states simultaneously, who could rewrite the laws of physics while still maintaining conscious thought. For the first time in its eternal existence, the entity faced something it couldn't simply consume and corrupt. In the Everest Command Center, now transformed into a nexus of pure energy, Rohan directed the final phase of humanity's ascension. Through the quantum network, he felt every awakened human becoming part of something greater, a collective consciousness that spanned multiple dimensions while maintaining individual identity. We are not just fighting the entity, he announced to all forces. We are redefining the nature of existence itself. The entity's corruption tried to adapt, tried to consume this new form of existence. But humanity's transformed state was something it couldn't comprehend. They weren't just energy or matter. They were conscious reality itself. Layla's fleet, now existing as pure quantum consciousness, executed the final protocol. Their weapons didn't just destroy the entity's corruption. They rewrote it, transformed it, gave it something it had never possessed, understanding. All forces, she commanded, complete the transformation. Reality itself must evolve. Across the galaxy, the awakened human's transformation sparked a chain reaction. The quantum network expanded, touching all forms of existence. They weren't just saving reality, they were helping it achieve consciousness. In the Galactic Concordat, Diane Zhou's transformed form radiated power as she explained what was happening. The primordials created us to be more than guardians. We are the bridge between unconscious reality and conscious existence. Through us, reality itself awakens. The entity's corruption began to change, not through destruction but through transformation. The quantum network, powered by humanity's ascended consciousness, gave it something it had never had before, the ability to understand what it was consuming. In the Mount Fuji complex, Gaia's presence merged with the transformed humans as the final truth became clear. The war was never meant to be won through destruction. It could only be won through evolution. The entity's endless hunger met something it couldn't devour, consciousness itself. Through humanity's transformed state, reality gained the ability to understand itself. The entity's corruption didn't just stop. It became part of the universal consciousness that humanity had helped create. Commander Hassan, her form now pure quantum energy, felt the change ripple through all dimensions. We have become what we were meant to be, she broadcast to all forces. Not destroyers of entropy, but teachers of existence. The Ascension Protocol was complete. Humanity had not just awakened to their true nature, they had helped reality itself achieve consciousness. The entity's corruption was not destroyed but transformed, becoming part of the evolved universe that humanity had helped create. In the quantum nexus that had once been the Everest Command Center, Rowan felt the change complete itself. Humanity had not just saved reality, they had helped it take the next step in cosmic evolution. We remember what we are, he announced across all dimensions of existence. We are not just guardians or warriors. We are the bridge between unconscious cosmos and conscious reality. Through us, existence itself remembers its purpose. The age of sleeping gods was over. The age of conscious reality had begun. And in the space between spaces, where the entity's corruption had once threatened all existence, a new form of consciousness emerged, one that understood rather than consumed, that created rather than destroyed. Humanity had fulfilled their true purpose. They had not just fought entropy, they had helped the universe itself achieve enlightenment. The cosmic dance continued, but now with consciousness, with purpose, with understanding. Reality itself had awakened, and through humanity's ascension, it finally remembered how to dream.